Hey guys, my name is Birdie and welcome back to my channel. This is Clown Cows. Disclaimer: anything I say, write, imply, or speculate on is my personal thoughts and opinions and should never be taken as fact, because it's not. This channel, including in the comment section, is nothing more or less than the sharing of opinions and personal views on publicly accessible information first made public by its owners. I'm a flawed human, so my opinions may be flawed as well. I'm also an expert in nothing, so please seek expert advice if you have questions. If you're ready, I'm ready, so let's get started. Today's video is based on a viewer suggestion by Felicia Guthrie. She had the very interesting idea to compare lolcows to see what similarities they might have, and I loved this idea, so thank you to Felicia Guthrie. This video is all because of you. Now, I thought it would be interesting to look at two women with similar backgrounds and even similar living conditions in their current circumstances. And I thought that we could examine why one is mostly accepted while the other is mostly hated. So today, we are going to compare Hungry Fat Chick and Amberlynn Reid. For a refresher, I'd like to go through some of the well-known backgrounds of these women just by speaking about their pasts and upbringings, and so that the similarities will be more apparent as we go through. Beginning with Amber, we know that she was born to drug addicts. She was the firstborn, she was neglected, abandoned, and unwanted. Amber had an awful grandmother on her mother's side, but a loving grandmother on her father's side. Amber would be in and out of foster care, nursing her trauma wounds with food from a very early age, and developing a dependency on that food before she was even a teenager. Now, I do want to say that although I believe Amber's childhood was awful and that her parents failed her miserably, I also believe that Amber has exaggerated the traumas specifically of her foster care experience. I think this because, from some of the stories that Amber has told us, she was given everything in foster care. She was even bought double plane tickets so she could fly back and visit her parents. And then the trips to Disneyland, and she's even said that when she turned 18, it was scary because she was a foster care kid and everything she'd ever needed had always been provided for her. But when she aged out of the system and was on her own for the first time, it was a real eye-opener and she didn't know what to do. But for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to admit that I do believe Amber's childhood was traumatic, but I do not believe that the foster care experience was as horrid as what she had led us to believe. Now for Amber. In time, after creating her YouTube channel for weight loss, she would go on to make mukbangs, mistreat partners, and neglect animals all on camera. She would also film herself lying, manipulating, and becoming self-consumed and self-obsessed, getting worse and worse as the years passed. She would end up dating a feeder after years of making feeder content on YouTube that she monetized and used to further fund her dependencies for those who apparently thought it was sexy to watch her become immobile. Now, next we're going to talk about an online persona known as Hungry Fat Chick or Candy Godiva. She was born to heroin addicts. She was also the firstborn. She was neglected, abandoned, and she was also mistreated by her parents. She had maternal grandparents, and I believe they were both alcoholics. But then on her paternal side, she had loving grandparents. Candy would grow up and have two children, a boy and a girl, approximately 2 years apart in age, of whom she neglected and eventually gave to her children's grandparents to raise so she could further explore her chosen world of dependencies on food and fat fetish pornography, and eventually go on to making mukbangs on YouTube as well, fulfilling fantasies for those who also apparently wanted to watch her die. Candy has stated in an introduction video that she made 8 years ago called Introduction Story and the Origin of a Once Feral Child that she was still into making money off of modeling, as she called it, as well as acting, and she admitted that some of it was adult related production. Again, that video was uploaded 8 years ago as of the making of this script, and I'm just telling you that as a timeline reference. These women, their childhoods and past experiences are similar in a lot of ways, though I do believe that Candy had a much harder time. She had stated that she was feral, she was malnourished, and she even talked about looking like an Ethiopian baby with that distended stomach, just flesh on top of bones, when her grandparents basically found her and rescued her. She said that her food dependency was a coping mechanism, but that her grandparents, in their best attempt to show her love and help her heal, had used food to both tame and reward her as a very young child. Both Amber and Candy have stated that they have received psychiatric or psychological treatment, and both have claimed to have been on medications at some point in their adult lives to help treat some of those mental ailments. We have two women with similar backgrounds and even similar daily lives today, but Amber is hated and Candy receives far more positive comments than she does the negative ones. Both women have also made videos, tell alls as I'll call them, where they have explained their past hardships, their childhoods, so that viewers could have a better understanding of why they are the way they are and how they ended up here. But still, Amber's audience had very little sympathy, and Candy's audience were overwhelmingly sympathetic, with many comments apologizing to Candy for being a previous critic or for previously being rude to her about her choices. Amber's audience were less understanding. But why? Why is one hated and the other loved? And I know Candy does have haters as well as Amber having supporters, but I'm talking about the majority here. Amber seems to have the majority of critics, and Candy seems to have the majority of supporters. Let's talk about why that could be. I personally think that the answer is simple. Amber has displayed repetitive behaviors that have showcased her narcissistic tendencies and maltreatment of others. And Candy, although she's done some horrible things and has argued in her comment section with viewers on plenty of occasions, does not show herself as being hateful, smug, and acting better than others. Candy has a trait that is easily perceived as wholesome, and Amber has a trait that is easily perceived as bitchy. I think that's the difference. It's easier to tolerate someone who does bad things but does not strive to be a bad person. Amber seems to go out of her way to enrage people, to mock situations that are obviously heartbreaking, and to always let people know that she's so much better than the majority of you. Candy, like Amber, eats thousands upon thousands of calories in each sitting, but she doesn't swear at her viewers, at least not regularly, and she seems to be able to handle mild criticism, even once admitting that if not for eating on camera, she'd not be able to afford her rent. There's a humility about Candy that does not exist with Amber. At one point, Candy even went on to a healthier meal plan where she was doing low carb. She had said that she was worried that her viewership would decline in doing so, and she was right. Her numbers did drop, and it was noticeable. I think Candy is a decent human who makes poor choices, and who, in my opinion, has pretty much given up on life. Side notes. It is not sneaking past me that Candy gave up her children, her human children, for her desire to continue down this self destructive path. And in her introduction video, Candy admitted that she knew she needed to change, but she just simply wasn't ready yet. And she also said that her children understood that she's an adult and she can do what she wants when speaking about the adult content she was making. And I agree. Candy is an adult, and she has been for a very long time, but her children were not, and she made the choice to abandon her role as a mother for her own addictions and pleasure, just as her parents had previously done to her. That is something else that is so similar about both Candy and Amber. They have these generational fuck ups and these generational traumas that just don't seem to end. They keep repeating these same mishaps of those who came before them, all while knowing what the outcome is going to be for the children. Still, I have empathy for Candy, though. I also have a sense of appreciation for her getting the children to a safe adult instead of just leaving them to fend for themselves the way she had been done. I do believe she loves her now adult children, despite the fact that she failed them as a mother. In Amber's words, I suppose two things can coexist at times. Certainly, I think Candy did better for her children than what Christine did for hers. And maybe one day we can do a video where we compare Candy and Christine as two mothers who each chose substances over family. And maybe we can follow their distinctive paths and try to conclude an ultimate outcome for each of them. But for now, let's just get back to our topic. Amber is a horrible human who makes horrible choices and who, in my opinion, is milking life at the expenses of others with every shallow breath she has left. She openly mistreats her animals. She laughs at people who she believes has suffered a medical emergency. She belittles the hungry, and she even mocked an ex-partner on camera who was in serious pain from a procedure that they had had done. This was a partner who couldn't even talk due to the mouth pain being so severe. But Amber just had to have the audacity to suggest to that partner that they probably just needed to eat, knowing damn well that they couldn't. Girl world can be brutal. Or, back in the day, it would be what we might call cutthroat. But as viewers, we are intelligent, and we do have the capabilities of discernment. We can see what lies just beneath the surface of these lolcows, whether it's hurt and depression or ego and greed. Why do you all think that Candy is better accepted or more tolerated than Amber? Certainly, love or hatred has got little, if anything, to do with weight in the grand scheme of things. And Amber could be easily proven a liar by saying that she's only hated due to fat phobia. We know that's not true. I think Candy is a great example of a woman who is similar to Amber in many ways, including supermorbid obesity, but Candy's personality, in a way, redeems her in the eyes of many of her viewers. But let me know what you think, your opinions, and maybe you've got some firsthand knowledge of people like Candy or Amber. How did the trauma define them if it did? And did it lead them to hating the world and being the perpetual victim, or succumbing to the realization that sometimes forward is the only way to go? Let me know what you think. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will be back soon. Be safe, be loved, be happy, and be kind to others. Bye for now.